All right, so today we're doing a deep dive on something pretty interesting, and this one hits close to home for a lot of us in academia.
Definitely. Always good to explore these career crossroads, right?
Absolutely. So, we got a question from a senior research professor in Melbourne. They're thinking about, well, maybe more than thinking about it. They're seriously considering a move to Adelaide with their family, the whole crew.
Big decision.
Huge. And they specifically wanted to know more about, well, I guess the quality of the universities there.
Hmm.
And of course, Adelaide itself, what life's actually like.
Makes sense. It's one thing to look at a university's website, but another to actually picture yourself and your family
Yeah.
living there.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We got to help our listener figure out, is Adelaide the right move, both for their career and for their family's happiness? Right.
Absolutely. And I think a good way to tackle this is to, well, break it down. First, let's look at Adelaide's universities and what kind of research opportunities they offer.
Perfect. So you know Adelaide pretty well. Give us the lay of the land. What are the big name universities there?
Okay, so the two main players are the University of Adelaide and Flinders University. Now, the University of Adelaide, they have a certain reputation, particularly for fields like, well, let me see, agriculture for one, and wine studies, things that South Australia is known for.
Right, makes sense. They'd have those strengths if the region itself is a powerhouse in those areas.
Exactly. They've got resources, expertise, the whole package. Now, on the other hand, you've got Flinders University, which,
I feel like I've heard good things about their medical school. Am I right?
spot on. Their medical school is very highly regarded. They're doing some really interesting research, especially in things like, well, clinical trials come to mind, and public health initiatives. They even have this, get this, a whole simulation center for medical training.
Wow, that's pretty high tech. So
Yeah.
both universities have their strengths, but I imagine for a senior researcher like our listener, funding is a major, major factor.
Oh, absolutely.
Melbourne has always been a bit of a research hub, right? So how does Adelaide stack up when it comes to securing those big grants?
Yeah, that's a valid concern. Melbourne definitely has that edge in terms of sheer volume of research institutions and, as a result, the funding that flows in. But here's the thing about Adelaide. They've got their own approach. They really emphasize collaboration, particularly between universities and industry.
So more targeted funding opportunities, maybe in specific niche areas.
Yeah, you could say that. Like, one example that comes to mind is the South Australian government's Research and Innovation Fund. That's specifically for projects that have, well, a good chance of commercial success. You won't find that as readily in Melbourne.
Interesting. So a different landscape, but definitely potential there. Okay, so we've covered the universities, the funding situation, but let's get real. When you're talking about uprooting your whole family, the quality of life in Adelaide is going to be a huge deciding factor. What are the major differences between Adelaide and Melbourne, especially when it comes to, the family-friendly stuff like cost of living, schools, all that jazz?
Okay, so first off, Adelaide wins hands down on affordability. The cost of living, particularly housing, is way lower than Melbourne. So you can potentially, well, have more space for your family or maybe even live closer to the beach.
That's a tempting perk, I gotta say. Beaches are always a plus.
Hmm.
What about the school situation? Are there good options for families in Adelaide?
Adelaide has a really strong education system, plenty of good public schools, and if you're considering private, they have a wide range of those too, known for, well, their academics and also extracurriculars are a big thing there. And with that lower cost of living, private school might even be more feasible.
Interesting. So financially, Adelaide seems to have a clear advantage. But what about the overall vibe of the city? Melbourne always struck me as, this vibrant, energetic place. How is Adelaide different?
It's definitely a different pace. Adelaide's more, I'd say, laid back, relaxed. It has a strong, well, almost a small town feel in some ways, even though it's a city. And it's very family oriented. People are really into the outdoor lifestyle. They've got the beaches, the wineries, the Adelaide Hills for hiking.
Sounds idyllic,
Mhm.
honestly. I guess it boils down to personal preference, right?
Yeah.
Whether you thrive in that big city hustle or you're looking for something a bit more, I don't know, tranquil.
Exactly. And honestly, the best advice I can give is to talk to people who've actually made the move. Reach out to some researchers, academics in your field who are already in Adelaide. See what they have to say.
That's great advice. Getting that firsthand perspective is invaluable. And speaking of exploring options, for anyone listening who might be in a similar boat, don't forget you can find university jobs in Melbourne, or anywhere else in Australia for that matter, over on academicjobs.com.
Good luck with your decision. It's a big one, but with some careful thought, you'll figure out what's best for you and for your family.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for the insight.
My pleasure.
And to all our listeners, until next time, keep diving deep.